My family has been a friend of Mac since I was 3. And today I'm going to be playing 2 of my compositions for you.
Good evening. I'm Kevin Murray, Executive Director of Massachusetts Advocates for Children, and I'm here to welcome you to MAC's 2020 annual event, Overcoming Together, a celebration of community. I can't tell you how pleased we are that each of you have chosen to join us tonight. If you'll excuse me for just 40 seconds, I want to inform our Spanish-speaking guests of the availability of interpretation. Buenas tardes, soy Kevin Murray, director ejecutivo de MAC. Les doy a todos y a cada uno de ustedes un abrazo de bienvenido de parte de MAC. Nos da mucha alegría que han decidido compartir esta hora con nosotros. Para los asistentes que prefieren disfrutar la actividad en español, los invitamos a aprovechar de una interpretación profesional del evento a través de una línea telefónica que pueden encontrar en el chat. También hay un número ahí que pueden llamar si tienen algún problema con acceso a la interpretación. Y por favor, salúdenos en el chat. Díganos con quién tenemos el gusto y de dónde nos acompaña. Bienvenidos. Hello again. Tonight's event is about stories. Ravi decided to share part of his story through his composition, Thunderstorm. Thanks to Ravi and his mom, Sita, for making this possible. Ravi will be back with us to close the event. I hope the timekeeper will forgive me, but I just can't go any further without sharing some devastating news that we received just 1 hour ago about the passing of a close friend of Mac, Janey Chalmers, who died yesterday from injuries sustained in a bicycling accident. As an educator, a school principal, a union and anti-racism activist, and more recently, an indispensable member of the TLPI team, at Mac's Trauma, Learning and Policy Initiative, Janey expressed an unconditional lifetime commitment to the right of every child to a safe and supportive school, and the responsibility of every adult to help make that right real. I smiled on Monday when I noticed that Janey had purchased a ticket to be with us tonight. Just like her, I thought, just like Janey, to purchase a ticket to something that she helped create. Our hearts break for Janey's wife, Eileen Carver, for the rest of their family, for Janey's huge network of friends, and of course, for our own dear friends and colleagues at TLPI. We dedicate our gathering tonight to Janey's incredible achievements over a life in education. In truth, it's difficult to go on having just heard this news to a celebration of hope and community. But Janey is whispering in my ear, "Okay, Kevin, thanks for that wonderful tribute, but we've brought people together for a reason." She would want to hear what our storytellers have to say tonight. I suppose this is one more test of our ability to overcome together. So, we focus this event on stories because we believe that stories have power. In the hands of persistent people, they can change the world. And particularly now, when together we face enormous challenges, the virus, systemic racism, economic hardship, the passing of friends. Everyday stories of people overcoming barriers at this moment have a superpower, the power to give us hope for the future. Who can't use a little bit of hope for the future right now? We're entering the season of Thanksgiving. The virus can change that season, but it cannot rob us of our ability or our responsibility to appreciate. There'll be a lot of thanking tonight, but before I leave you, I want to offer a moment of personal appreciation. To those who've provided or will provide resources for Mac's work through this event, your generosity humbles me. None of this would be possible without you. The entire Mac team have helped create this moment, but two remarkable women who you will not see tonight made it happen. I thank Lilia Malikji and Amy Karua for helping me see that it was possible for Mac to bring people together tonight. 4 people who do not receive occasional paychecks from Mac joined our planning committee as volunteers and made this evening their own. Alkia Powell, Ann Guay, Elizabeth Harmer-Dion, and last, but absolutely not least, the irreplaceable Jerry Mogul. I've enjoyed working with you all, and I really have appreciated your varying contributions. And then, of course, there are the families who have agreed to make intimate details of their personal lives public by telling their stories here tonight. They did this because they hope that their stories can inspire the rest of us to persist, to overcome together. I share that hope as I salute those families and thank them from the very bottom of my heart. So enjoy this evening. Join others in expressing yourself to each other in the chat space, and let's all commit to overcoming together. In closing, I have the real pleasure of introducing your Master of Ceremonies for the evening. Among many other things, our MC is a graduate of the Boston Public Schools, an inspiring leader on Mac's Board of Directors, and Director of Special Projects at Youth on Board in Somerville. I couldn't be happier to put this event in the capable hands of Carlos Rojas Álvarez. Take it away, Carlos.
My name is Carlos Rojas Álvarez. As an immigrant a Boston Public School graduate, and a longtime youth advocate and organizer in Boston, I am proud to serve on the board of directors at MAC. And I also have the immense pleasure of being one of your hosts and your MC for tonight. If you haven't gotten a chance already, please introduce yourselves and let us know how you became part of the MAC community. If you're not seeing the chat, just click the word chat with the green dot on it on the right side of your screen. You can also click the @ button to find your friends and to chat privately. For those of you who have been to MAC events in the past, whether our fundraisers or our bi-weekly chats and serie de charlas over the last few months, you know the feeling of warmth and community that comes from being together with friends who care so deeply about educational opportunity and MAC's mission. Tonight, we'll recreate that feeling virtually through the inspiring stories we share of families making it through the COVID-19 pandemic and more with MAC's help. Make sure to stay on through the very end of our program for our virtual reception with a few photos and music to reminisce about our past events with you and the students and the families who have grown up alongside MAC over the last 50+ years. Throughout the program, there will be opportunities to make a gift to support MAC's work using the donate button on the bottom of your screen. And now I have the honor of introducing our keynote speaker, Boston City Council President Kim Janey, District 7. Prior to her election to the City Council, President Janey served for 17 years as Senior Project Director of MAC's Boston School Reform Project, leading efforts to advocate for systemic policy reforms to ensure equity and excellence in education for students in Boston Public Schools, with a special focus on eliminating opportunity and achievement gaps for children of color, immigrant children, students who are learning English, children with disabilities, and those living in poverty. We are thrilled, I am thrilled to welcome President Janey back as our keynote speaker.
Can you hear me? Can you see me? Everything good? Wonderful. Good evening, everyone. And before I begin, I just want to say thank you to Ravi for that amazing, amazing performance. Please give it up to Ravi. I want to thank you, Carlos. I'm so proud of the work that we've done together over the years. It's really good to see you. Thank you. And many thanks to the entire board of directors. I want to thank Kevin Murray as the new executive director of MAC. I think it's only been a year, and what a year it's been. I would be remiss if I didn't also give a shout out to Jerry Mogul, who was the ED for most of my tenure at MAC. I'm also really grateful to Marian Creighton, and she was the ED who hired me, to John Mudd, who mentored me, and to all of my former colleagues at MAC. And of course, MAC's founder, Hubie Jones. Please, everyone, give it up for them. I hope folks are clapping in the chat. My name is Kim Janey, and as Carlos mentioned, I worked at MAC for many years. And there's an interesting irony is that every year I was on the planning committee for these events, and I would always encourage us to keep the speaking program short. And now here I am charged with delivering remarks, and I hope I can live up to my own expectations. So that will be my commitment, to try to keep my remarks brief, because I really want to hear from the families this evening. Anyway, again, my name is Kim Janey, and I am the District 7 City Councilor, proudly representing Roxbury, South End, Dorchester, and Fenway. I am also the president of the City Council, and it's the most diverse city council in Boston's history. For the first time ever, the council is majority women and majority people of color. And this could not have come at a better time in our nation's history. So I am really excited for the work that we are doing on the council. I'm very proud to lead the council at this time and to be working with all of my colleagues. But I want to tell you just a little bit about my journey and how I got to the City Council, because MAC is an important part of that story. I was born and raised in Roxbury into a family of artists, entrepreneurs, activists, and educators. My father, God rest his soul, was raised in Orchard Park Projects and would become the superintendent of 3 urban school districts. My mother, she grew up in Cambridge and was the daughter of a Baptist preacher. My family and my community instilled in me the values that continue to drive me to this day as I lead the council. And they are the importance of education, the power of community organizing. Number 3, the fundamental principles of justice and equity. And that is what I think of when I think of overcoming together. Early in my life, I learned the importance of advocacy and the importance of standing up for your community and standing up with your community, and the importance of celebrating community, because we need to take the time, like we're doing tonight, to celebrate the victories. We have to give ourselves permission to rest and rejuvenate and to celebrate. And growing up for me, I saw a lot of activism. There was activism all around me. Back then, just like now, Black parents had to fight for a quality education. The very first school that I attended as a child was a community school that was started by leaders in the Black community. And this was happening while leaders were also going to the NAACP and to the courts to sue Boston Public Schools because they could not get that quality education for their children. Both of those are examples of overcoming together. After I attended the community school, which was called New School for Children, I enrolled in Boston Public Schools at 7 years old. And the school department wanted me to repeat the first grade, but my parents stood up and made them put me in the correct grade. My parents found their voice, just like the families that we will hear from this evening. And when I entered into BPS in the 7th grade, I excelled. I was a straight A student all the way up until middle school when I was bused in the second wave of busing in our city. It was 1976 and I was just 11 years old, bused to Charlestown. After 2 years of that, my parents again fought for me and they got me into MECO. Every step of the way, I saw parent voice. I saw parent advocacy. My family had to fight for a quality education, and families today are still fighting for a quality education. Our schools are more diverse, our resources are too scarce, and the issues are more complex. And MAC has been in this fight for more than 50 years. MAC has been that voice for parents, and more important, MAC helps parents find their own voice. We need MAC now more than ever as we climb out of the nation's failure to contain COVID-19. We know that COVID has exacerbated existing inequities. COVID is compounding the trauma that already exists in our communities. And that is why we need MAC in this fight. Schools continue to police Black girls' hair. That is why we need MAC in this fight. Language access continues to be an issue. And that is why we need MAC. We have to continue to fight to make sure inclusion is done right, and that Black and Latinx boys are not stuck in sub-separate. We need MAC in this fight. We have to continue to push for diversity, especially at decision-making tables, because decision-making tables are where decisions happen, and that determines not only what is served, but who gets to eat. We need to make sure that these tables are diverse because our families are hurting. These gaps continue to exist. They were with us before COVID and they are now being exacerbated, but I am hopeful. I'm hopeful because we have a new administration coming into the White House, and we're hoping that that will bring new, much needed resources into the Commonwealth. And I'm excited because our new VP looks like me. And we both have that Black girl magic, but we're not magicians. We have a lot of work to do to close these gaps, and it's going to take all of us. We stand on those who came before us, and we continue to do this work for those who left us too soon, like my father and like Jenny Chalmers. We need all of us in this fight for quality education. We need families, we need advocates, we need attorneys, we need our young people, we need elected officials, and we need MAC. Please continue to support MAC, and let's overcome these challenges together. Thank you.
So, President Janey, through the chat, make some noise. I'm so proud to be able to call you that. Thank you. The stories you're going to hear tonight are incredible. These stories of advocacy journeys of individual parents and students are what make up MAC's work. And MAC takes on advocacy from many angles, working strategically to maximize our impact. Day to day, this means meeting with legislators and education leaders over Zoom these days to discuss education policies and their impact on the students most likely to fall through the cracks. A good example of this systemic advocacy is the Department of Education's guidance that came out yesterday regarding English learners with disabilities. Thanks in large part to advocacy by MAC and our partners in the Latinos and Special Education Coalition, the guidance compels local school districts to better understand and accommodate the special situation of this large group of students. So thank you to all of you who helped to make that happen. MAC's advocacy approach also means banding together in coalition with other legal aid and child advocacy groups in order to provide the most efficient and effective support to families during a crisis like COVID-19. If you've worked with us in one of our special education emergency response groups or any other collaborations, please give us a shout out in the chat. We want to thank you, and we hope you're met with lots of clap reacts. Thank you all for the work that you've done with us. Because at the heart of all of our strategies for advocacy is relationships. The fierce love that parents have for their children and their drive to see their children succeed is what inspires each of us every day. As we watch the children we work with grow up, those relationships are what keeps us going. Many of those relationships begin on our helpline and in our community trainings. Maria and her son, Jean Joseph, found MAC long before the COVID-19 pandemic, but they found the relationships they'd gained through MAC to be a lifesaver when Jean Joseph's school shut down. Here is their story.
Mi nombre es María Eugenia Antonetti y tengo el placer de presentarles a mi hijo Jean Joseph Willes Uribe. Les hablo un poco acerca de nosotros. Yo soy de nacionalidad colombiana, vivo aquí en Boston desde hace 16 años. Actualmente me desempeño como juez de paz. Fui madre soltera por muchos años. Ahora estoy felizmente casada con un hombre excelente de nacionalidad mexicana, muy trabajador y que nos dio una bella familia. Mi hijo Jean Joseph tiene 13 años de edad, cursa 8º grado y tiene una condición de déficit de atención. Es un niño que se esfuerza mucho en su escuela, me obedece, me respeta y me siento muy orgullosa de ser su madre. Mi hijo tiene un IP en su escuela y desde siempre me ha tocado dedicar mucho tiempo para ayudarle en su formación académica. Nosotros los padres jugamos un papel importantísimo en la formación integral y académica de nuestros hijos. Por tanto, somos esenciales en sus vidas y darles el mayor acompañamiento para que se conviertan en humanos con principios y valores útiles para nuestra sociedad. Este país nos ofrece muchas oportunidades, pero al mismo tiempo vemos muchos obstáculos que se convierten en barreras para ayudar a nuestros hijos. Obstáculos como la barrera del idioma, desconocimiento de los recursos, poco tiempo para dedicar educación a los hijos por el trabajo y no saber manejar el IP. Agregado en este momento está la pandemia del COVID-19. Todo lo mencionado anteriormente son factores que nos convierten en madres frustradas y en una situación desesperante. En mi caso en particular, yo trabajo en Chelsea y caminando cerca a mi oficina vi un letrero en la ventana que decía charlas para madres con niños de necesidades especiales. Decidí entrar y pedir información ahí y desde entonces conocí esta maravillosa organización MAC y sus excelentes y profesionales empleados, los cuales han sido en nuestras vidas unos ángeles en medio del camino tan oscuro que tenemos que atravesar madres como yo en este país. Personalmente, sus reuniones me ayudaron a entender qué es un IP, cómo se maneja y qué se puede exigir para que mi hijo logre más éxitos académicos. Anteriormente solo me limitaba a firmar ese documento. Ahora, a pesar de que mi hijo está más grande, aprendí a abogar por sus derechos y a pedir un traductor calificado, porque en las escuelas nos ponen a traducir a cualquier persona que sepa hablar inglés y español. No son personas traductores calificados y lo cual distorsionan mucha la información en ocasiones, presentando barreras para solicitar los recursos para nuestros hijos. En mi reunión de IP, antes de mi reunión, mi hijo cuando empezó la escuela en casa, no sabíamos cómo ingresar en la computadora, no sabíamos qué teníamos que hacer, no sabíamos en qué programa nos teníamos que firmar. Y por lo tanto, él estaba perdido en sus clases y por lo tanto sus tareas estaban bajas en calificaciones. En el momento que conocí a Matt, también al mismo tiempo tuve la reunión de IP. Matt nos hizo el acompañamiento completamente para la reunión que fue en abril y fue todo un éxito para mi hijo, ya que él estaba muy desorientado y recibió mucho apoyo de sus maestros. Se notó el cambio y la actitud de la escuela hacia él y logró graduarse con satisfacción tanto para él como para mí. MAC es una organización donde sus empleados se convierten en ángeles para mamás como yo. Ellos logran eliminar barreras para niños, jóvenes y padres. Abogan por los derechos y logran que la educación sea más inclusiva. Sus charlas por video Zoom logran que estemos al día en información y conozcamos los recursos. Deberían existir más organizaciones como esta y hacer más campañas educativas para padres y familias como la nuestra. Muchas gracias, Matt. Mi hijo tiene unas palabras para ustedes.
Thank you, Mac, for helping me with my homework, my education, and everything. Thank you, Mac.
Gracias a la organización y gracias a todos. Una feliz noche.
I do believe that they're both here tonight. So please go ahead and give them a big shout out in the chat. Gracias otra vez, Maria y Jean Joseph. All advocates know that advocacy is most effective when it's led and informed by the people most affected by the policies you're trying to change. People like Maria and Jean Joseph. Max Trauma and Learning Policy Initiative, or TLPI, a partnership with Harvard Law School, understands that deeply. TLPI works with whole school communities, bringing student voices to the center of conversations about how schools can support their students. By centering student voices, the TLPI model also serves as a pathway to racial equity. In a trauma-sensitive school, students feel heard and respected for their full identities. In this next video, you'll see how TLPI's model provided a crystal clear pathway to racial equity at Salem Academy Charter School when one student expressed her concerns about a discriminatory hair policy, and her teachers listened.
Our African-American students were upset that they couldn't wear headscarves in school.
Whereas I wear my scarf to school, and then like my type of hair it's not immune to this weather. I shouldn't be having my hair like this sometimes, and I have to cover it.
When the girls and I started having real conversations about what it means for them to get ready in the morning and what it means to be able to wear a scarf on some days that they want to, I worked with them. We created a little committee, we looked at it, we took it to other administration, and they said, of course, this is what we do. This is why we listen to students.
I've never seen a school that actually took time into learning about their students. That was the first time I never, compared to my elementary schools, I never really had that same relationship with teachers.
I think working with students to hear their voice on something that's really important, such as this topic, and then seeing that change through with them has made a huge impact on our relationships with students, and they feel valued and they feel heard.
Inspiring story. Mac's vision is one where every student has a fair and equitable opportunity to learn, to reach their potential, and to thrive. Your gift to Mac supports people like Maria, people like Jean Joseph, Erica, and the teachers at Erica's school working to create a more inclusive school culture. Even before tonight, generous supporters brought us close to our ambitious $90,000 fundraising goal for this event. And with your help, I know we can reach that goal tonight. You might recognize our next storyteller from Mac's Facebook page, where we shared a sneak preview. Taisha Garrett, like many of you here tonight, is a mother who fiercely loves her son and wants the best for him. In Taisha's case, when she sought special education support, the stakes were exceptionally high. I'll let Taisha take it from here.
My name is Taisha Garrett. I am a paraprofessional in the Malden Public School System, and I work with children on the autism spectrum. My son Jace is 9 years old, has autism, and is nonverbal. Jace is a happy, caring, loving, silly, and playful kid who loves school, among many other things. Every morning, Jace wakes up happy and excited for school. While getting ready, he starts naming both his teachers and friends. Once we are at the school and he notices his teachers, he looks at me, says bye, blows kisses, and takes off to hold his teacher's hand, smiling. This had been our routine every day until this last school year. Jace went from smiling with excitement to take the hands of his teachers to crying and saying no to school. While I know Jace isn't perfect and he has his days, he had never had a history of aggressive behaviors, especially towards others. I was told by Jace's teachers at one point that his behaviors were becoming more frequent and more aggressive. After many changes and not being able to figure out what was causing these behavioral changes in school, the school wanted to do a 45-day placement. After visiting the only school option that was given to me, I strongly disagreed and declined to send Jace there. I was also asked by the district's consultant psychiatrist if I wanted to place Jace on a small dose of meds so he could function during school, because this was the only place he was displaying these behaviors. I was taken back and I declined that as well. Clearly, the decisions I made for my son did not sit well with a few people at the school. This is what prompted me to reach out to Mac. I shared my concerns with Mac and informed them that there was some false communication being sent to Jace's doctors at the CCSN, such as the claim that Jace was attacking staff daily and that Jace had been denied placement at several schools. To add insult to injury, I was not informed by the schools about this communication. I was told by Jace's doctors. When I started to question things and ask for copies of documents, I was quickly notified by mail that a lawsuit had been filed against me by the school's district. I burst into tears and was terrified. This was also my place of employment. With the help and resources provided by MAC, I was connected with both an amazing advocate, Carrie Norman, and attorney, Lillian Wong. Their knowledge of parental rights and overall support, even to this day, have been beyond imaginable. Starting out, this fight was disheartening, overwhelming, and seemed impossible to win until I connected with Mac, Carrie, and Lillian. The time I served active duty in the military seemed easier than this. When it was over, I won my case, and Jace is currently placed at an amazing school out of district. Jace has progressed academically, and his speech has improved tremendously. He is probably the most talkative, sometimes bossy, nonverbal child I know. His excitement for school has returned so much that he will now like to go on Saturdays and Sundays. And in closing, I would like to thank everyone who helps, plays a part in making MAC available to families like mine.
I just want to take a second to give another shout out to Lillian Wong, Taisha's pro bono attorney, and MAC volunteer Carrie Normand, both of whom worked closely with Taisha to secure that new school placement for Jace. MAC's network of volunteers, pro bono attorneys, advisors, evaluators, consultants, and much more are such critical members of the MAC community. We'll be giving you all a special shout out at the close of tonight's program, so please stay tuned. One of MAC's guiding core values is inclusion. In MAC's vision, every child can learn together alongside their friends, with access to any support they need to learn and to thrive. The Monterroza family embodies our vision of inclusion. Delmy and Daniel know that their son Leo learns best when he's with his non-disabled peers, like his brother Anthony. Anthony and Leo are best friends, and they do everything together at home and in the community. MAC helped to make sure that Leo was included with his non-disabled peers in school. Check out their story and these very, very cute brothers.
Cuando nuestro hijo empezó en kindergarten, empezó en una escuela completamente inclusiva, una preciosa escuela que todos los niños hacían lo mismo. Él se comportaba igual, mejor que otros niños quizás, muy educado, muy pendiente, muy queriendo aprender. Cuando él ya estaba en 3 grados más avanzados, él empezó a tener múltiples atropellos como emocionales, un poco de bullying, atropellos físicos, y decidieron colocarlo en un salón completamente separado, y eso nosotros no es para nuestro hijo ni para muchos niños, que lo más importante es copiar a niños modelos, y la inteligencia de todos los niños tiene que ser completamente inclusiva en una educación como en la sociedad. Entonces, nosotros los padres buscamos a representantes del distrito escolar en muchas ocasiones y solo encontramos rechazo y que no fuéramos escuchados. Entonces, por los abusos físicos que el niño recibió, tuvo que intervenir el pediatra. Él fue el que nos recomendó buscar a Massachusetts Advocate for Children para que nos ayudaran a que no sacaran al niño de inclusión, porque el niño siempre tiene que estudiar en inclusión para salir adelante en la educación y en su vida cotidiana.
Ahí fue cuando nosotros empezamos a trabajar con Diana Santiago, y gracias a ella y a la organización de MAC, que han hecho un excelente trabajo con nosotros hemos logrado obtener muchas cosas buenas para nuestro hijo, especialmente que con la ayuda de ellos nosotros hemos logrado a obtener la inclusión para nuestro hijo, para que él sea totalmente inclusivo en la escuela, que es por lo que nosotros siempre hemos luchado por él, porque Leonardito es un niño que él, para nosotros y para mucha gente que lo conoce a él saben que él es un niño muy carismático, que él hace todo como todos los otros niños. Entonces, gracias a eso nosotros hemos podido tener un poco de tranquilidad como papás, porque para nosotros lo más importante es el bienestar de ellos, especialmente de él, que necesita estar con niños que sean modelo para él, porque ellos son muy inteligentes y ellos obtienen y captan todo de todos los otros niños. Entonces, ese era un propósito principal para nosotros, que él estuviera inclusivo, para que él pueda ser un modelo también más adelante. Para nosotros, lo más importante que nosotros queremos para Leonardito es que él, cuando esté grande, sea independiente, que él se pueda valer por sí mismo sin necesidad de nosotros estar con él. Y gracias a Diana Santiago y a Mac, todos ellos que han estado siempre apoyándonos a nosotros, hemos sido finalmente escuchados, porque tenemos muchos años de estar tratando de conseguir esto para él. Y como digo, ahora nuestras voces como papás, no solo para nosotros, pienso yo, sino que para todos los papás que son como nosotros, que tienen niños que necesitan un poco más de atención, han logrado ser escuchados también. Entonces, hemos obtenido todo lo que queremos y hasta más.
You enjoyed the cutest brothers ever, like I do, you'll definitely want to stay on through the very end of our program for a very special surprise. Before we move on to our next speaker, I'd just like to take a moment to recognize and thank all of you for being here tonight, and to all who made this event possible. We know that this is not an easy time for families, and each of our speakers took the time to share their stories in the hopes of supporting MAC and showing other families that they too can find a community in MAC. So thank you, gracias, to our speakers. I also want us to stop and celebrate that together already you've helped us get to over $84,000 to support educational opportunity for children and youth in Massachusetts. That generosity means renewed hope for a family drowning in virtual schoolwork. It means critical knowledge to a parent who has received a new diagnosis and is thrust into the world of special education for the very first time, and school cultures that work better for all students using MAC's trauma-sensitive model. Our next speaker is the man who started this community over 50 years ago, an advocate, an activist for opportunity all of his life. He knows all about the power that comes from bringing passionate people together. Without him, we wouldn't have this organization that has passed over 15 laws, answered thousands of calls from parents, and been there to provide resources to all families making impossible choices right now around supporting their children, especially during COVID-19. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to MAC's founder, Hubie Jones.
Good evening. Thank you for participating in this community celebration. We all desperately needed this event. because for over a year, we have been coping with horrific threats to our physical and social health. The pandemic has inflicted awful illness and death upon thousands of our people. We have been living in a toxic political environment that is driving us apart from each other. The good news, the storm is about to pass over. We now know that the vaccines to end our public health crisis are soon on our way. We know that a new national administration is coming in January that is committed to social healing, human welfare, and to reversing harsh public policies and practices. Indeed, the storm is about to pass over. I urge you tonight to dig deep down inside of you and access the well of optimism that is there. Activate it and embrace it. Without active optimism, you will be in danger of being lost, wandering around in the wilderness. This is no time for aimless wandering. This is a time for us to know who we are, what we deeply care about, and where we are going. I relish my well of optimism, developed in care and nourished by a loving family, a caring community, and social organizations that believed in me. It became an important feature of my psychological architecture. We have got to know that empathy will save us as a people. When my 13-year-old grandson, Malik, was in kindergarten, on Grandparents' Day, I went to visit his class at the Shady Hill School in Cambridge. His teacher told me that what she loved about Malik was his empathy. When conflict was about to stir among classmates, he would move into that social space and with his calm presence, made sure everybody was okay and not apt to be harmed in any way. That exchange with his kindergarten teacher made my day. And now at age 13, I still see his empathy. And with all of his other gifts, I know he is likely to become a wonderful leader in his adulthood. I also have twin grandsons who are 5 years old. Last year, they were in a pre-kindergarten class in the Somerville schools that brought children with emotional problems and disabilities together with healthier children. My grandsons learned how to reach out and help classmates who were upset and in pain. They gained amazing empathy, and if constantly nurtured, will ensure that they grow into wonderful human beings. Empathy will save us. Jaylen Brown's participation at this event reminds us about the importance of using our social capital. Here is a basketball star with enormous social capital that he is determined to use to speak out about educational inequities experienced by young people and to pursue social justice. Likewise, we should spend our social capital wisely to make a big difference in our communities. When I began my social work career as a group worker at the Boston Children's Services Association, I was assigned to form a social club for 10 to 11-year-olds who had cerebral palsy. In spite of their physical challenges, these children displayed enormous resilience. They hungered for social relationships with their peers and to engage in joyous play with them. I got to know their mothers who brought them to the social club and learned that they were coping with chronic sorrow. Yet these parents mobilized their internal resources to care for their disabled children in loving ways. It taught me a lot about human resilience. I have drawn on this experience for a lifetime. So at the end of the day, we are called upon to be optimistic, empathetic, and resilient. Together, we can overcome. I conclude with the words from a song that I love that the Boston Children's Chorus sings. The storm is passing over. The storm is passing over. The storm is passing over. Hallelujah. Stay strong and stay well.
Thank all of you for being a part of our event tonight. You have helped us raise over $80,000 for children across Massachusetts through tonight's event alone. So thank you again. We've reached the end of our night, but we want to invite you to stay on for our virtual reception to enjoy more of Ravi's incredible music and to also see some familiar faces. And if you stay through the end of our credits, you'll get a very special surprise goodbye message from one of our storytellers. Thank you all so much.
I'm happy because I'm with my brother in the PJ Kennedy school, and I have my brother's teacher. I like. I'm good. School is the happy.
Thanks for everything, dígale.
That's everything.
Bye.
Bye.